Hey there, it's Andrew. Glad you can make it to today's workshop. So I'm going to be talking about lean digital innovation, and I'm going to show you how to reduce cost, reduce risk, increase your startup's product velocity, and build a product that your users absolutely love so you can grow and become a product success. Now, along with this workshop, I also have a condensed guide that gives you everything you need to know. And it also includes a step-by-step checklist, which will help guide you along the way. So make sure you get that at ldi.andrewo.com. You're here because you are a tech founder who's either thinking about building a startup or you've already started and you're doing this because you want to impact the world. So does this sound like you? You've got an idea that you want to build or have started, but maybe you haven't defined the target audience or figured out the direction. And this could mean you're still trying to find the product market fit. This means you're spending a lot of time and effort on development and you're adding more and more features, but failing to hit the mark. Even worse, you could be silently building something without market feedback, and that is extremely risky and dangerous. Maybe you've got something going and you want to take it to the next level by getting more engaged and retained users, and also decrease the cost of support because sometimes your users are complaining about your product and they're dropping out and you're frustrated, but you don't know why. You could also have been working on something for a few years, but it hasn't exactly taken off to where you want it to be. And you're wondering how to grow and make more revenue while other startups are hitting it off the ground and growing fast. So if you are any of these points, then this training is going to be extremely valuable to you. I'm just going to briefly introduce myself and tell you why I'm authorized to talk about this topic and help you. My name is Andrew Oh. I'm an award-winning UX strategist and digital innovation strategist, and also an author based out of Vancouver in Canada. I've consulted on products for startups and also for enterprises, working with teams and stakeholders across the globe. And now I am helping tech founders like you create amazing products that disrupt competition and delights customers. These are some of the clients I've worked with in the past, and I've been in my industry for over 10 years. I'm going to start off by sharing two of my client stories. So this was Joanna. She was a tech founder like you. She had spent about 2 to 3 years researching data, statistics, and building a product at one point and even talking to investors. But she wasn't really getting anywhere and she was going around in circles and don't know what to do. And here's the thing, like 2 to 3 years is actually a long time to spend on something without it taking off. Through lean digital innovation, she was able to define a clear product direction in less than 2 months, get a vivid vision of her idea coming to life while getting raving fans. And because of this, she was able to attract the attention of investors and get funding. This is Chris. Chris knew exactly what he wanted to build and needed to take it to life. But he has spent about 4 months with the wrong process and roughly $120,000. And that's because he was working with a software development team and they weren't providing him with a strategic direction. So he was actually burning through cash without a clear direction. Through lean digital innovation, he had a clear end in sight for MVP completely defined in 3 months. He had complete confidence knowing that we were building exactly what the audience wanted. During this process, we were able to help improve his product velocity to scale and grow quickly afterwards. And then we launched 3 months later. But we didn't launch with just okay results. We actually got an award-winning customer experience and millions in sales years later. So how do you create a digital venture that disrupts competition and delights customers? It's through a framework that I call lean digital innovation. And this is a framework I came up with and improved upon the existing ones after seeing how so many startups just die or disappear because they make so many mistakes. There are 4 steps to this process, starting with step number 1, that is getting complete clarity before we build. Number 2, learn quick to win big, because this is an important foundation of how we want to do things. Number 3, we don't just want a minimum viable product, we want something that is lovable. And number 4, through scalable implementation, it's going to help us increase our product velocity and also decrease the cost of development so we can move much quicker. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 1, complete clarity. I'm going to start off by talking about how most people build a product. So you get an idea as a tech founder, as an entrepreneur, and then you get really excited because you're thinking about all the possibilities and how no one's ever thought about this idea. And then you're thinking about how you want to build it and then launch, and then it's going to get you tens of thousands of users and you're going to win. okay? And you also get really excited because you talk about this idea to your friends and family, and then they say yes to your idea, and then you get even more excited. So the next thing you do is you build, because that's sensible, right? So you start building in secret, and then you launch. The problem with this framework is that only after spending 6 months to a year, tens of thousands of dollars, you go to market, and then only to get clarity and find out that the customers don't exactly need or want what you have. And this is extremely risky. It's like building a house that looks like this. If you build it first without getting feedback or any sort of validation, there's a very, very high chance that you can end up building wrong or useless features that nobody wants. So like this here, this balcony here, there's no door to it and things don't make sense. Now imagine how much it would cost to have to tear everything down, replan just to build it back up again. So this building here, you have to tear down the wood, you have to tear down the structure, you have to replan, you have to build it back up. And this is very, very expensive and also very costly. And we all know that refactoring code is very, very expensive. This is one of the common reasons why startups fail. So make sure you avoid doing this. The actual right way of building products goes something like this. Number one, you have an idea. And number two, before you start building, you go to market. Okay, so remember that. And that's because clarity comes from going to the market first. So repeat after me. Clarity comes from going to the market first. And I know that building is really exciting because you're seeing your vision come to life. But I want you also to have this mindset that talking to people can be just as exciting, because you can get access to critical pieces of information that can change your direction entirely. I remember one of my clients, he had actually spent a couple of months building something and he was getting a high dropout rate. This meant that people downloaded his app, but a high number would drop out afterwards. And then he asked me for help. He's like, Andrew, how do I decrease the drop-off rate? And then I asked him, well, I told him this typically happens because you have a product that does something, but it's not helpful to your users, or they don't resonate with it, or it's not what they expected. And then I asked him, did you actually talk to any customers? He said no. After I gave him my validation framework, he went out with it, talked to some customers, and then came back and said, Andrew, I'm getting a much more clear direction for my product because I actually have an idea of what my customers want. And he was really, really excited. Okay. So remember, talking to people can be actually pretty exciting because you can get critical information. Now, there's 3 common mistakes that I want you guys to avoid because this happens a lot. Number 1, dismissing your customers' feedback. And I know this sounds really, really obvious and it shouldn't happen, but it does. And what this looks like is that when you ask your customers and you tell them your idea, whether it solves their pain points, they don't necessarily see eye to eye, but then you just dismiss it and think that they're wrong because they just don't get it. And this can happen because you are so attached to your idea that you fail to see the truth. So make sure you let go of any attachment so you can just hear what the pain points are and what they're trying to express. The second common mistake is that you get responses from family and friends. And that's a common mistake because friends and family are too nice to tell you that you're having a bad idea and that you should avoid it. And most of the time, they're going to tell you, yes, it's a great idea, go for it. And that's going to give you a false sense of security. Number 3, yes doesn't always mean yes. And that also goes back to number 2 as well. When you're interviewing your customers and you ask them whether they're going to purchase the product, a lot of them are going to say yes because they don't want to sound mean. Okay. So when it actually comes to taking action, not a lot of them will go through with it. And I'll tell you how you can avoid this afterwards. So let's actually look at how much it would cost to not do validation. The expensive way of building is that you get an idea and you spend 6 months building. And you pay a developer $50 per hour for 40 hours per week. And that is actually a very conservative rate for developers in the United States. In total, that's going to cost you $48,000. And then you go to market and then maybe you get clarity. The lean way is that you spend 2 to 4 weeks talking to people, and maybe you just have to pay for some interviews or surveys, but it's cheap and you can get clarity in this step. So when you do this right, You get the answers from your audience to inform you on the direction you need to go. And you get a complete peace of mind and confidence in the direction of your idea. Number 2, learn quick to win big. I'm going to start off by asking you guys one simple question. How valuable would it be to see the future of your product without a single line of code? So imagine this. Just imagine for a moment, you're able to see the future of your product without having written a single line of code. And what I mean by this is that you can see your target audience use your product, hear their thoughts, their feedback, see their reactions, and hear their ideas, and get their response, which will give you even more confidence whether your product is a hit or not. The best part of this is that you don't have to build a product, spend tens of thousands of dollars, and 3 to 6 months to get the answer. You can do this in as little as a few weeks. And you can do this with prototypes. So a prototype is a working model of a product that looks and feels real, except it isn't. And it's extremely advantageous because it allows us to build fast and discard it fast, which enables us to save a whole lot of time and money. Because it allows us to make small, rapid iterations, which will maximize our chances of success, as opposed to building something for months and then spending tens of thousands of dollars only to get our first response. Now, I want you guys to understand this because this is the key principle here that drives this methodology. On the left side, we're going to market with our prototype, we're getting feedback, and then we're iterating. We're doing this in a very, very quick cycle, which increases our chances of success, as opposed to building something for 6 months and then going to market, which is very, very risky. I'm going to show you what a prototype looks like actually. So this is done using a tool called InVision. As you can see, this person's tweaking around the software, adjusting screens. It's a little fast, I know. And then they're pointing the screens from one to another, okay? In the end, you get something that looks like this. You can swipe up, and also swipe left and right on these items. So this actually looks and feels like a real product, but it's not actually real at all. My favorite prototyping tools are Figma, InVision, and Protopie, and some of them are free. But guess what? I've even heard of people using PowerPoint, and that is okay because what we're really trying to do here is really communicate the idea and the solution. We're not trying to build something that's pixel perfect, and that is perfectly fine. The prototypes also don't have to be animated like the one we saw, but it's important that it communicates the key concepts. Now, here's the beautiful part. Did you know that you can actually sell your product before you've even built it? I'm actually going to give you a golden piece of advice here. When you test out with your prototype with the users, and then they can visualize it solving their pain points, and they're really excited and they like your product and they want it, ask for their email and sell the product on the spot. That's right, do it on the spot. Price it at 50% off the monthly price you had in your mind and ask them how much they think it's worth. If the pricing doesn't match up with what they have in their mind, offer them 50% off what they think it's worth for the first year. If you're able to make the sale, then congratulations, you've actually completely validated your offer, and you did it without spending months or thousands of dollars to find out. And this is amazing. This is actually how you validate something, by getting the users to prove their yes with money, not just words, but with actual money, because they're going to say one thing and do another. But when you collect the cash and the cash is in your hand, that is big. Okay, that is the real deal. So when you do this right, prototypes can help you get market response without going to market. They can help you see your idea coming to life in tangible form. You can reduce risk and costs and eliminate the unknowns. You'll feel more confident because you can rapidly improve your idea and refine it in tangible form. As a bonus, you can also use this to leave a lasting impression on investors, because investors get pitched with a lot of ideas, but if you have something that's tangible, you will always be ways ahead. So let's actually compare the expensive way of doing this. Previously, we had spent about 6 months building something without getting validation, and then we launch it and go to the market for the first time. Okay, and then Because it didn't hit the mark, now you have to refine it, which means spending another 3 months changing something. So you pay a developer $50 per hour for 40 hours per week for 3 months. That's going to cost you $24,000. The lean way is that you take 1 month building your prototype, testing it, and refining it constantly. And it's free if you do it yourself. And it can also cost you maybe less than $10,000 if you get some help and really professional help. Number 3, minimum lovable product. That's right. It's not the minimum viable product, it's the minimum lovable product. Because you've all heard of the MVP, and there's a wrong way to interpret this, which is why I avoid using this term. The wrong way to do an MVP is just to make it functional and launch. This means you get your developers to hack everything together, build it without considering the user journey. The problem with this approach is that sooner or later, you always need to pay for it months down the road. And that's because while it's a feasible product, it's not lovable. So that means your customers can use it, but many will struggle with it, sometimes even quit or wonder if there's a better alternative out there. So here we have the MVP, it's just feasible. With the MLP, we want it to be feasible, valuable, usable, and desirable. So a key component into making a product lovable is user experience. And user experience is what one feels or experiences when they interact with something. Don't underestimate how important or how valuable it is. Because have you ever felt like this person in your life at any point where you downloaded an app, you try to use it out for maybe 30 seconds, but you quit because you didn't know how to use it? Raise your hand if you have, okay? Because I personally have. And I'm going to start off by sharing you a story. A few months ago, I was hungry and decided to eat pizza. So I looked up a local store and downloaded their app in order to order pizza. But the first thing I saw in the app when I opened it up was that it asked for my email, which is okay, fine. If you want my email to get started, that's okay. But then the second screen started to get really, really busy. It was asking for a bunch of information and some things didn't make sense. For example, this was a chain that only operated in Canada. But when you select country, it shows you only one option, which is pointless and meaningless. So then I enter my details, and then I have to verify my number. Okay, so I verify my number. I see a confirmation screen. But the next thing that happens after is that I land on a home page, which is not the menu. And I had to find out how do I actually order by clicking on the bottom right, which was not visible at all. So then I do that, and then I have to enter my address. Afterwards, I see the menu category. And this is actually also pretty flawed because the menu here is actually very, very big. It takes up like half the screen on mobile phone. And then I tap on that, and then I can see the menu and then start ordering. So it took altogether 9 steps. Now, raise your hand. How many of you would have quit by now if you had to use this app and use a product like this? Wouldn't you be frustrated and leave? Show of hands. Okay, yeah, there's a few of you. Okay, so if you don't like this, then you shouldn't want this for your customers too, because they'll quit. So the result of a bad user experience is that there's going to be a loss of revenue, loss of repeat customers, a high cost of support, and also you're going to have to spend double the amount to just rebuild. And the number one key factor to the success of your product depends on the number of customers you have. So it's absolutely critical to have a good user experience in your product. And I'm going to show you what I did to actually make this a whole lot better, because this experience was so bad that I wanted to improve it and make it into a case study. So here we have before 9 steps. Afterwards, as soon as you download the app, I'm not going to force you to log in, okay? Because that option is available on the bottom right corner and also with register. What we want to do is engage you immediately by making you enter your address to see whether we can serve you or not. So as you type in your address, we're also going to have autofill just to make it easier for you. And then when you tap on that, it's going to display the nearest store for you. And as soon as you tap delivery or pickup, it's going to show you the menu, just like this, within 2 steps. And this is how you increase the revenue of a product, by making it intuitively easy to use and lovable. Now, UI UX isn't about making things just look pretty, because you could have all of the 9 screens look very, very nice, but you still get the same frustrating experience. So UX is about making the entire journey smooth and easy to use, that your customers can't help but love your product. And also, the thinking behind this doesn't just apply to the food product here, the food app here. It applies to any industry you do. So the strategy in mind here is how can we engage users with the product or with the app before asking them to commit. So taking this to, say, for example, Amazon.com. Imagine Amazon.com. Imagine if they made you sign up on the product or on the website before you've had a chance to browse the website and browse what you want to shop for. If we were to do things that way, that would be a really, really bad experience. So we want to engage the users with the app, with the product, to see what they can do, give them value before we ask them to log in or sign up. So user experience is really the strategy and really the thinking behind what makes a product work really well. And it applies to all the industry, regardless of what it is. Now, think about this. This company spent tens of thousands of dollars developing their mobile app, and there's a high dropout rate. To fix this, they're going to have to spend, again, the same amount just to fix these problems. And it's sort of like back to the analogy of building the house. If you don't do it right the first time, you're going to have to tear it down and build it up again. So a key advice I have for you is make sure you really slow down to speed up, because I know you're excited, you want to build, but do it right. Okay, invest in UX early so you can speed up. There's also one common trait among all the leading tech giants, and that is they heavily invest in UX because they know it's a secret weapon for growth. And UX is the competitive differentiator because it's what makes one customer choose you over another, vice versa. So when you do all of this right and you incorporate a good user experience in your product, you're going to increase customer retention and loyalty, which naturally increases conversions. You're going to get more user engagement. And because you have a great product experience, you're also going to lower the cost of support, which is all going to maximize your revenue and also decrease the cost of development because you've done it right the first time. You also get raving fans. And just how important is it to build a great product experience? So let's compare things doing it the expensive way. That means you spent 2 months on redesign because you didn't do it right the first time. And then you spend another 2 months refactoring or rebuilding, and that's minimum. So that's going to cost you a total of 4 months, $32,000. There's going to be opportunity costs. There's going to be a loss of customers, and there's also going to be support costs. The lean way is that you invest in design early on. That means there's going to be less refactoring. You're going to hit your roadmap on time, get raving fans from the start. You're also going to increase conversions and get more user engagement. Number 4, scalable implementation. So now that you've gotten your MLP down, the next thing you do is that you start building, right? Sensible. You outsource or hire developers, and then the developers builds a screen, and then you see it come to life like this. But here's the thing. Building is an absolute art, and there are so many ways to mess this part up, and I have seen this so many times. Because unless you have a team of very senior and very expensive unicorn developers, which can cost $350 to $800 per hour, 99% of you guys will run into this issue, especially if you are outsourcing. And that is, you have a design that looks good, it looks perfect, but when it goes through development, it comes out looking different. That means the rows here aren't the right space, they're very narrow, the button here doesn't look right. You have text that looks very, very cramped, and there's not a lot of proper spacing. The button here is also off and it's not big enough. And that's because developers don't have the eye for visual design. This means you'll end up with unprofessional looking design, which loses trust from users. It's going to impact readability, which impacts usability. And all of this requires a major overhaul. And it's not just one screen. Because if you have multiple screens, which you likely will have in your product, you can get different sizes, positions, and colors, which are all going to be inconsistent. For example, this here is a different title font. This one is bold. The buttons here don't look right. They're all inconsistent with each other. This one's smaller, this one's bigger, and they're all positioned slightly differently. In companies where I've seen this happen, it's led to 2 to 4 months of delay because you just can't ship a product that looks so unprofessional. And the thing is, if you have to fix just the buttons, for example, you're going to have to do it across the entire application, which gets more and more expensive as you build without doing it right early on. So the right way to actually go about this is that you have design systems and you have developers who know how to use design systems. So a design system is a library of user interface components such as buttons, input fields, icons, which are pre-built and tested. And when developers know how to use this properly, or if you're building your own and they know how to structure it properly, it's going to save you a tremendous amount of time. It's going to massively reduce the amount of trivial tasks that they have to do. And you're also going to build twice as fast. So imagine paying a developer $50 per hour just to build buttons and icons. I think most of us would agree that it's much better to have them spend their time elsewhere on more important features than to do these little things and then get it wrong. So the expensive way is that you do development without design systems, and you're going to spend 1 to 2 months refactoring, 1 to 2 months minimum, okay? And that's going to cost you $16,000 minimum. During this time, there's going to be opportunity costs. It's going to be 1 to 2 months delay in launch, and it's also a recurring cost because down the line, you're going to have to do more refactoring. The lean way is that during your prototyping or your design, you start to use design systems and you have developers that know how to use it. The results you're going to get from this is that there's going to be less refactoring. You're going to save time on development costs. You're going to increase product velocity from the start, and you're going to build future versions quickly. All right, so let's recap. Number one, we want to get complete clarity by going to the market and getting their feedback. And then number two, we want to take that and validate it by learning quick to win big. Number three, we want to have a minimum lovable product and not just something that's viable. We want it to be attractive and desirable for the users. And number four, we want to use scalable implementation by having design system in place. And when you get all of this right, it's going to help you massively reduce risk and increase your chances of success. It's also going to help you reduce costs by up to 50%. You're going to build an amazing product experience and also implement quickly at scale for now and the future. So doing this right will actually save you so much time and tens of thousands of dollars so that you can become a product success and make an impact on the world like you've always wanted. So this is how you build a lean digital venture that disrupts competition and gets you raving fans. Now, there's actually a step 5 to this, and that is to use LinkedIn to get more users or customers if you are a B2B SaaS company. And I'm actually working on a new training for this part entirely. And I recently decided to do this because I've seen so many companies do lead generation the wrong way. While all this time, I've been able to get conversations started on LinkedIn and get clients for myself this way. So soon, I'm going to have this training on how you can use LinkedIn to generate a consistent pipeline without ads, without posting content, and you'll be able to get starting conversations as early as 1 or 2 weeks, all done for you. And what this whole thing looks like is if you have a LinkedIn account, I'm going to get conversations flowing into your mailbox and get you book calls. That's all there is. So this training is coming out soon. If you're interested in learning more, feel free to book a call with me directly. There's going to be a link at the bottom of this video. Now, moving on. All right, next steps. If you feel like you got good value out of this workshop and you can take it and run with it, then I'm happy to send you on your way. Just make sure you slow down in order to speed up. Don't rush. Don't skip any of these steps. Now, the tricky part to this is that if you don't have expert guidance, what I'm afraid of is that you'll try something on your own and not do it right, and then think that it just doesn't work, and then you'll become even more frustrated. So the other option is that you can let me and my team help you implement any of these strategies, and it can be done with you or done for you so that you get expert guidance along the way. So if you are a tech founder who wants to measure your idea's potential with the target audience and get clarity, get buy-in for the idea without significantly investing into software development, this is for you. It's also for you if you want to take your idea to the next level by building an amazing product experience that people love, all while reducing the cost by up to 50% and improving your product velocity for growth. And also, this is for you if you want to reduce risk and massively increase your chances of success. And what I'll help you with in each of these steps is starting with number one, get complete clarity. This means we dive in deep to understand your idea, measure the potential directly with your target audience, help you identify those blind spots, and then validate the big outcomes to inform the direction with confidence. This means you get a complete peace of mind and confidence in the direction of your idea. Number two, learning quick to win big. So this includes us creating those quick concepts that we can test and improve quickly. And this will reduce our risk of failure and also maximize our chances of success. This means you'll start to see your idea coming to life in tangible form and feel even more confident because you already know how the market is going to respond to it. Number three, minimum lovable product. So this includes an end-to-end blueprint and a working prototype of the core features we know it's going to rock it. This can be used as also a marketing tool aimed towards getting the attention of investors so you can get funding and grow. That means you're also going to get raving fans for your product, and you get a peace of mind knowing your product can come to life with much greater chance of success. Number four, scalable implementation. This means we're working with your development team to guide them on the implementation and train them how to build more efficiently and make sure your vision comes to life at the highest quality. This means you'll get to save on development costs by up to 50% and also increase your product velocity. This enables you to scale, move faster, and get the confidence in knowing your product can come to life the way it should. In each of these four steps, it would be either done with you through coaching calls and training, or it could be all done for you. So if that all sounds good to you, then I'm going to invite you to book a free strategy session with me. What we're going to do in this 45 minutes is I'm going to go over and deep dive into your idea, see where you're at, see what challenges you're facing, how I can help, and also to see if it's a good fit for us to work together, because I want this to be a win-win situation for the both of us. So if you need help in any of these steps, book a call with me by scrolling down to the bottom of this video. There's going to be a calendar where you can schedule a time with me. If you don't need help, I'm glad to send you on your way. Remember to slow down, to speed up, always test before you build, and invest in UX early on. Okay, so this wraps it up for today's presentation. Thank you guys for joining me. If you need help, again, book that strategy call. It's a free strategy session. I'm not going to sell you on anything if it doesn't make sense. So just go ahead and book that call. Otherwise, I hope you found today's presentation valuable, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.